My ex, F22, cheated on me, M21, with my childhood best friend, M21. So, here's my story about how I lost the love of my life, C, and my best friend, J, all in one day. It all started when I met C in grade 5 and I had a crush on her for years, never gaining the talk to her or anything as I was just figuring out these feelings, plus I knew I was an introvert from the beginning, barely having any real friends besides a small group of 4, one of them being my best friend J. We did everything a kid could do together, go camping, something I didn't like but was fun with him, play video games, board games, sleepovers, all those things, and thought of him as a brother. It was he who had the courage to add her to put friend group. We grew closer as we got older. It was only in grade 9 that me and C were starting to get closer as friends. During high school, when we were both in grade 10, I finally gained the courage to ask C out, and to me surprise and happiness, she said yes. Our first date was amazing as I took her out to her favorite restaurant, which wasn't really expensive but did have a big bill. Then we went skating as she has always loved that, and that was one of the best memories I've ever had. Over next 4 years, we had the best relationship, or at least what I thought was the best. It was only during year 3 of our relationship that C wanted to go the next level, and so did I, but I was just so nervous about it that I never realized what was happening between my GF and BF until it was too late. I was also stressed from the SATs that I didn't have enough time to spend with her either. It all came to screeching halt when I not only passed my SATs. My nervous about having sex went away with the letter, and I walked to her apartment to tell her the great news. I entered the elevator to go to her floor and walked to her door when I noticed it was open slightly, and so in a panic, I opened the door myself, not thinking straight and thinking she was in trouble, but found nothing. I walked around the apartment, but eventually I noticed the trail of clothes leading up to her bedroom door. If those weren't obvious, then the moans and screams of pleasure were. That was until I noticed a jacket on the ground, the very same one I gave Jay on his 18th birthday. I saw only red when I thought that and barged into her room, where they were both shocked at my interruption, but C soon screamed in terror as I pulled Jay off of her and started beating him. I was never a violent person growing up, but this rage and betrayal turned me into someone I hope I could never be again. It's been 2 weeks since I caught J and C together, and I have been ignoring every message they sent me, every call and voicemail they made, and have even ignored their family's attempts at getting me to speak to them. I couldn't stand to be in the same room with them anymore. Every time I think of them, I just remember that day when I caught them. Update. I had to get the truth about our breakup before the two of them vilify me. To my and possibly your surprise, they didn't say anything about me, but they also didn't out themselves. The two of them kept quiet about the whole thing, and I couldn't stand that. Watching as if nothing happened between the three of us. So, I contacted as many of our mutual friends as I could to tell them. Some believed me, others thought I was in the wrong, and a few were indifferent, but all looked at J and C differently after that day, as I had many details of what they did while those POS sleep together. After I outed the two of them, I realized I needed to get away from the city. I lived here my whole life, but I had to get away. I just couldn't stand being close to C and J anymore. I was simply getting boxes of my stuff ready to move when I could, and I hear a knock at the door, and wouldn't you know, C was standing right outside. Her eyes just bloodshot and looks like she hasn't slept in days. I barely opened it for her anyways, so I just rudely asked, "What are you doing here?" 'Cause I'm not about to be gracious towards her, and never will again. She asked to be let in, to talk for a minute, and I decided to do so, but not to take her back, to just hear the excuses I know she'll come up with. She started to cry, asking for forgiveness, and wanted to explain why she did what she did. I kept a straight face and didn't say a word while she was speaking. She told me how she felt neglected cause of the lack of sex between us, which I guess is true. She went on to say that Jay comforted her, and slowly began to fall for him as the days went on, and one thing led to another, and I had caught them soon after they became physical. After she was done, I told her that if she fell for Jay, all she had to tell me was that she wanted to break up, and I would have accepted them getting together afterwards, but they didn't do so. Instead, I saw my first love in bed with my best friend. I told her I was moving away after this, that I couldn't stand being in the city anymore with C and J or their family, but I didn't tell her where, 'cause I don't want her to follow me. I saw the tears flowing even faster as she heard that. Guess she thought that we could reconcile after what happened. Well, sorry, C, but I got other plans than take you back. After that, I just held onto her hand. She gained a hopeful look in her eyes and led her to the door, before pushing her out. She turned towards me, pure sadness in her eyes. I'll never love you again. Go back to Jay, I'm sure he'll be happy to accept you fully, after all, he already did so. I slammed the door in her face after that, and heard her crying outside but didn't care and just continued to relax and pack my stuff. As for Jay, well, never bothered with him again, didn't speak to him, didn't respond to any of his messages, nothing. I'm done with them, and nothing will change that. Way to go, OP. That's how it's done. I wish I had been as direct when my wife and best friend did the same. Instead, I played the reconciliation game, which was an agonizing bust. The ex-bestie, though, was dead to me from the moment of discover on. Ironically, which is a never-ending puzzle among cheaters, is that they both were so sorry, never intended to lose me and thought we could get over it. Second story. Betrayed by my girlfriend and cousin at a wedding. So, my girlfriend Francesca, 33F, and I, 34M, we've been together for a couple of years now. We both smoke cannabis, though I limit myself to fortnightly sessions due to tolerance build-up from my teenage years. Francesca, on the other hand, has a penchant for drinking, which she does every weekend. We attended my cousin's wedding not too long ago. Now, I'm not much of a drinker, but Francesca convinced me to swap my usual joint for a few rounds of drinks at the reception. I got more drunk than I've ever been, and I stumbled upon Francesca doing cocaine with Sean, 31M, my other cousin. Sean and I aren't close. He sees me as a weirdo who gets high all the time, while I see him as an arrogant, spoiled bully. It felt like a slap in the face to find them together like that, even more so when Francesca brushed it off as her just having a good time. Despite our argument, we ended up in bed together. The next morning, I woke up to find her gone. My heart sank, but I tried not to jump to conclusions. Down at the reception, I overheard some of Sean's friends joking about how Sean was shagging his cousin's girlfriend. I confronted them, demanded to know which room they were in, and insisted one of them come with me. The sound of sex was audible before we even reached the room. I told Sean's friend to knock and get Sean out without telling him why. After repeated shouting and knocking, Sean opened the door to see me. He backed away. I followed him into the room. Francesca, my Francesca, was in bed, looking shocked and asking what is it. Sean stayed silent. I could only stand there as she became hysterical, claiming it's not what it looks like. But it was exactly what it looked like. I left without saying a word. Update. I'm still trying to come to terms with everything that's happened since that night at the wedding. Francesca has been incessantly trying to reach me. Calls, texts, even showing up at my apartment, you name it. She's desperate to explain, to justify what happened. But honestly, I've been too numb and too hurt to listen. Sean? Well, he's been disturbingly silent towards me. However, he's been more than vocal about the situation with the rest of our cousins. I found out he's been boasting about what happened that night. I only got wind of this when an uncle reprimanded him for his behavior. To say I'm disgusted would be an understatement. And the reaction from my other cousins? Well, it's been far from supportive. Many are content to laugh at my expense, and it feels like an additional betrayal. They've started referring to me as cuck, which is not only immature but also incredibly hurtful. I've decided I don't need that kind of negativity in my life right now. As for Francesca, we still haven't spoken. I'm not sure I'm ready to hear her side of things yet, but I know I will need to at some point. I need that closure to move forward. Right now, my focus is on myself. I'm trying to regain a sense of normalcy, taking one day at a time. I'm reconnecting with old hobbies, trying to find joy in the little things again. I know there's a long road ahead. Healing isn't linear, and I expect there will be good days and bad days. But I'm taking the first steps, and that's what matters. I'll update again when there's more to share. Until then, thank you for your continued support. It means more than words can express. My cousin Lucille called me today to apologize. She seemed genuinely remorseful, which was a change. She also informed me about a new lie Sean's been spreading, that Francesca and I had an open relationship and her sleeping with other men was part of our kink. According to him, I was just annoyed that he got involved. I can't say I'm surprised by Sean's behavior, but it's still disheartening. However, it's a clear reminder of why I've chosen to distance myself from that part of the family. Update 2. I've made arrangements to attend therapy regularly. It's a lifeline and should help me navigate this mess. I'm still not speaking with my other cousins. Their lack of empathy and respect has left a sour taste, and I'm not sure that will ever change. However, I did speak with Rona, Francesca's sister. She came over to pick up her stuff, and what she revealed shocked and disgusted me. Francesca has a history of infidelity, often with men who are drug dealers, to settle her debts. I was so sickened by this information that I physically threw up. Many of you were right, the cheating and the coke were not the first time this has happened. How the hell did I not notice any of the signs? I immediately called my doctor to get tested for STDs. These days waiting for the results are some of the most stressful I've experienced. To say I'm devastated would be an understatement. I'm back at square one, reeling from the hurt and the humiliation. But I'm going to continue with my therapy and try to learn from this painful experience. Just a quick little update to say I got my results back from the STD test. I'm clean. I swear this is a massive weight lifted off my shoulders. Update 3. Finally, I gathered the strength to speak to Francesca. I wanted to understand why she hadn't just told me about her cocaine use. I would have helped her, I would have gotten her off it and possibly into rehab. But her response was a punch to the gut. She admitted that she would have cheated regardless. She claimed our sex life was lacking, that it was far from exciting, barely even vanilla. She confessed that she'd been faking it the entire time to avoid hurting me. Now, she felt no need to hold back. Francesca even echoed my cousins, calling me a cuckold and cruelly predicting that my next girlfriend will cheat on me too. The truth bomb Francesca dropped on me left me in a pretty dark place. The only person I've had the energy to speak to in the last 2 days is my therapist, who has been a constant rock for me in this storm. In an attempt to make some positive changes, I've given up cannabis and started hitting the gym. It's been a good distraction, a way to vent my frustrations. I've yet to see some improvements physically, but that'll happen eventually over time. However, I have noticed women at the gym checking me out, which has been a small boost to my self-esteem. I also had an unexpected encounter with Max, the son of one of my older cousins. He shared that since the wedding, the kids and the family have been giving their parents hell, calling them out on their disgusting behavior. I guess all that free weed I used to share with them made an impression. It was a small consolation, but it gave me a moment of satisfaction. Despite all the challenges, I'm still standing. I'm hurt, I'm healing, and I'm working on building a better version of myself. Update 4. Ran into Sean, things escalated. I bumped into Sean at our local store. Maybe it was all the pent-up anger or the last vestiges of my heartbreak, but seeing him there, so smug and unbothered, immediately set me off. And when he started taunting me, I just snapped. I did something I never thought I'd do. I attacked Sean. It was a flurry of punches, rage, and adrenaline. I broke his nose and knocked out one of his teeth. I've never been a violent person, but in that moment, it felt like every punch was for every lie, every betrayal, and every heartache. His friends were there too, but they didn't lift a finger to help him. Instead, they watched the entire incident unfold. And when it was over, instead of jumping to Sean's aid, they put up their hands and shook their heads as if to say we're not with him. I'm worried about potential legal repercussions. Aggravated assault and grievous bodily harm are serious charges. However, I haven't been arrested, and the police haven't been in contact. In fact, no one's reached out to me about it. Still, I'm keeping a low profile, trying to process what happened and how I could lose control like that. I'm continuing my therapy and my workouts, trying to channel my anger and hurt in more productive ways. I'm not proud of what I did to Sean, but I can't change what happened. I can only work on myself to ensure it doesn't happen again. Update 5. I'm excited to share some positive news. Life has taken an unexpected turn, and I've found a new girlfriend who has brought light back into my world. After the chaos with Francesca and Sean, I decided to focus on myself. I threw myself into therapy, hit the gym hard, and started rebuilding my life. It was during one of my workouts that I met her, Emily. We struck up a conversation, and it quickly became clear that we had a lot in common. We started going on dates, and each one felt better than the last. Emily is caring, understanding, and genuinely interested in me. We've shared our stories of heartbreak and healing, and it's brought us closer together. I can feel the trust building, and it's a refreshing change. In fact, things have been going so well that Emily recently asked me if I want to move in with her. It's a big step, but it feels right. We've spent enough time together to know that we enjoy each other's company and are compatible in many ways. Living together would allow us to deepen our connection and build a life together. Of course, I took some time to think it through. Moving in together is a significant commitment, and I wanted to ensure it was the right decision for both of us. After careful consideration, I decided to take the leap of faith and said yes to Emily's offer. I'm excited about this new chapter in my life and the possibility of creating a loving and supportive home with her. It's a stark contrast to the tumultuous and painful experiences I had with Francesca and Sean. I've come a long way since then, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to start anew with someone who truly values and appreciates me. Now imagine finding all these after getting married. Now imagine finding all these after having kids. Time will heal everything, the darkest hour will pass, so stay strong and don't give up. As of other people, karma is extremely brutal and they will be punished.